going to record a quick little presentation to show you kind of a business case example of one way that you can use analytics for Spire. And I could have preset this up, but I want to actually take you through the process of how you build this example. So the example is going to be basically focusing on inventory quantities received versus inventory quantities sold. And it's a kind of a common practice in a lot of businesses to do this. So let's go ahead and start in the sales side. So I'm going to pull in sales for my year in this set of data, but I'm going to rearrange my grid, and I'm going to take out a few things. I'm not going to look at selling price. I'm going to now look at committed quantity or what I sold. And let's go back a year as well. And I don't care that much about just invoiced year and month. I also want product code in there as well. So let's throw product code over here. So what I end up getting is a breakdown now of product code sales versus year over month. So I can see things like, let's select here. So for computers, for example, I can see that I've sold 1,098 in last year, and so far this year 862 units in that particular product category. So what I can do is say, okay, well that's great, but is my receiving in some relationship to that makes sense? And if I was going to make this a long-term thing I do on a regular basis, I probably would save this layout and call it, what would I call it here? Sold quantity by year and month. Not year, and I'll go ahead and save that. I'll jump over to inventory receipts, which is a new module, and I'm going to do the same thing. I want the 2 full years. I'm going to bring that in, but I'm not interested in looking at receipts by part number. I'm looking at receipts by product category, and I want to look at month over year. And I was looking at computers before, so I'm just going to scroll down here and I'll look at computers. And just for the visual of it, let's select it and we'll see. Okay, so for computers, last year I received 1358 and 1226 year to date. And if I look at sales, I had sales of 1098 versus 862, and that actually should be a concern right off the bat. If we look at this, we can see, if we look at this graph, how this graph looks versus how this graph looks. Meaning, in this graph, it's kind of indicative of the fact that we're continuing to receive on a ramp. We're continuing to receive items in that category. Versus here, where our sales are actually looking like they're starting to drop off in that category. And this could very well be a case where you're focusing on what you think is going to happen, but you're not necessarily paying attention to what is actually happening. That may be true, that might not be true. Another way to do this, if this isn't the quantities idea isn't sufficient, is you can say, okay, instead of looking at that, let's look at my sell price total, and we'll compare my sell price total to my cost price total. So I'll take received quantity out and I'll put in cost price total instead. And now when I look at this again, I'll flip back over here, make sure that I've highlighted everything. I'll see that even with the moving over to actual value, I can see that the relationship is similar. Here it looks like, you know, sales were great, but they're kind of tipping off into the later months. You know, into May, which is a completed month, it's starting to drop down. But in terms of a receipt value, our costs, that's still ramping up. So again, even when you're looking at quantities versus cost prices and sell prices, this is something that you might want to be concerned about. So again, here I might want to save, for future reference, I want to save this layout, and let's call this cost receipts by product code, year and month. So again, I can look at any given product code or any specific customer or anything that I want, but the idea here is that I'm using the tool as an analysis tool to help me determine how to make good decisions, or whether or not the decisions I've been making up to this point make sense relative to what's actually going on.